Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully with the noise coming across here you can hear me. The problem we have with skills is cutting through the noise. As we are in an economy in transition, there's that much noise in the background. How do we get what we want out of what we're doing? And that's part of the work that we're delivering in the ARISE project. Trans-European project with partners from North Macedonia, Professor Anna Morena here from Italy, who's in the audience, she's speaking later on. Partners in Copenhagen, in Denmark, Ireland, the UK. And it's about making sure we get, exactly as Anne said earlier on, efficiencies into the system. Now, not just efficiencies in speed or efficiencies in the delivery, is making sure we get the energy efficiencies into construction. Whereas technology moves ahead, the workforce that are in place have access to skills, to training, to opportunities, and to platforms to do exactly as Global Lead Training there said, just-in-time training. Anna calls it task and impact-based training, TIBL. If we're designing a building, we've got to make sure it's built as designed and there's no gap. And that arises how we look at measuring the skills energy equation. The greater skills we deliver, how do we quantify that in the carbon footprint of the building that is delivered and managed? How then we look at using that digital transformation and the tools to develop what we call linear connectivity. The majority of the workforce in the construction sector today have been in construction the last 10, 15, 20 years. They're not going to go back to do 2 years or 2 months or even 1 week's time off site in a training college or in an establishment. They need training at their fingertips, they need access to training, and they need it in a conducive and in a way that they can latch onto and enjoy and be part of their life. It's how we improve the skills in the workforce to make sure we have a more effective energy management system. Everybody in the audience, everybody in the workplace has a mobile phone. We use that as the tool to deliver the training and to engage in the training. Modules of 15 minutes built up so that as we move with the economy in transition, we've got to make sure we create a new normal. Large education establishments, bricks and mortar, require the people to go to their classrooms. Anybody running a building site, or running a construction company, or running an engineering company can't afford people away from the coalface. So how do we blend that into the work-life balance so then we have a learning work-life balance? Is given the tools in a size and in a shape with partners such as a Global Lead platform and deliver them in a fashion where people can access them. And how we drive that economy in transition and make sure we take the benefits of the technology that's there and optimize the digital translation that we require. Our colleague who delivers in Work Package 7 is delivering the tools, is Diana Lykar from North Macedonia. And she came out last week with a very simple statement. Europe is exhausted with skills discussions. We talk about the talk, we still talk about the talk, and we're still talking about the talk, and we have changed nothing. We're still putting sticking plasters or puncture repair on the puncture that's been punctured for years, and we hope that's going to carry us to the next job. To those older people in the audience, it's like the nylons on the fan belt of the car. It got you home, but you're not going to use it the next day. But it got us home, and we're still trying to use the old education methodologies to deliver the new skills we require in a fashion. And there's a misalignment. It's how we develop the new blended system that's going to give us a skills landscape that is not tired, that is not dated, but fit for purpose. As I've said, we're in an economy in transition. It's not just construction, but construction is the one in focus. We're told about skills shortages, we're told about staff shortages. And the focus in education is all about quantity, not quality. It's getting as many people over the line and giving them certificates. Pieces of paper that when they go to site, they know there's a misalignment. How do we use then that technological advancements to make sure the skills are there that they require? Delivering the skills in a digital fashion, delivering the skills that they require to succeed in the workforce and also continuously evolve. So those older members of the workforce who, because of time pressures, family pressures, or peer pressures, are never going to go back into a classroom. How do we recognise the latent skills that they have after 20, 30 years of excellent work? Is give them the platform they require at the time that suits them, in a fashion that suits them, to recognise those skills. And again, give them the vocational mobility to move either upwards or sideways within industry. As we harness the technology using the digital skills, we measure that against the pedagogies that we require. So we continuously narrow the skills gap with the workforce we have. It's not about faster, better, cleaner. It's about more efficient, and that's the key word, as Anne mentioned earlier. That efficiency is getting the best that we have. And it's to make sure that they can participate in learning throughout their working lives. It's not a stop-start. We've always talked about this cycle of participation. In Arise, we call it a cycle of participation, where you stop and start the journey when it suits you. At the minute, I'm waiting on my phone to ring because I have a life outside of here. Believe it or not, we all have lives outside of the RDS. But my daughter's going to have her second grandchild, and I get that news on the mobile phone. So I'm being upskilled and get the knowledge I require. So my life is in a different cycle to Anne's, to Anna's, to everything. So skills have to fit into that. And it cannot be a one-size-fits-all. We have to have it in a fashion where people can dip in and dip out where they need. Why? Increased productivity, as mentioned earlier. About delivering whole life value. People are people, they're not robots. They evolve, they change. I was talking to that gentleman earlier on, his father was a lift engineer. How things move forward in that, and you develop the skills in that with CAD or with pencil and ruler, are now evolving. And deliver what we call work-based skills for living. The objectives are to make sure that we create a better skills system. Not a whole new system, but how we deliver that hybrid system that will blend with the current system that's there. It's not about knocking the old thing down. It's about creating a new system where people can either take certification route that we have or the CPD route we have. Same 15-minute modules, all online. You choose the destination, you choose the pathway, you choose the optimum result you require. If you want CPD points, it's the same modules, or if you want certification, it's a digital skills passport. And people then can use that for the skills that they require. It's about empowering the learners to engage in what I call that cycle of participation. They stop and start when they need, when their life needs. When other stuff comes into their way, they are distracted by something else. It's called living. Jobs require different skills at different times. We facilitate that social learning at times that suit them. Stimulate engagement and motivation. We use gamification within the platform. And that gamification allows you to become more and more engaged in the learning you're doing and enjoy it. So it's not the 4 hours training that everybody hates that Anne talked about earlier. We do it at the time that suits us. And then it creates that interconnected curriculum where you can take a pathway that suits you, not a pathway of a modules of a curriculum that a university or a college has set down. At times then, you do it yourself. How we couple those sectors of education with digital to give you the pathway and the choice. Empowering that, enabling democratized learning, facilitating social learning. The who, the workers in the site, not just the white-collar workers, but all the workers. We've all been on sites where some of the most intelligent people are the manual men working on the site. They have the skills, they have the knowledge, but they lack that vocational mobility. It's about creating that dual pathway of reward, points or certification. Put the learner in charge. It's not a prescriptive pathway. You said it yourself. It's like the old Pac-Man, where you could choose the route to follow you want. Learning should be like that. We're not all the same. When God created us, He created every one of us differently. We all think differently. So why should we not train differently to realise our own optimum skills? That pathway gives a confidence, a mindset, and understanding that's going to be upskilling to move forward. Mentioned earlier, we have fantastic designs coming out of all the different e-tools we have. But the gap is created when it goes to a build. How do we measure that distance, close that distance? We can measure it with all the IT we have, The only way we close it is with skills and given the skills we require in the workplace. And then quantifying that gap and measuring it as it closes by the amount of skills it's delivered. And as we close that, we create the greater efficiencies. We create the projects such as Arise and others, working together to implement energy efficiency effectively across all of construction. And the key goal in that is, by putting the learner in charge, we monetize the skills exchange. We've all played Minecraft or different games, where gamification keeps you engaged. You accrue your points, you exchange the points then for cert coin, and then you use the cert coin to purchase the digital certificate or the CPD points. You're buying the skills you require in the time that you need. Not subjective to somebody else's alternative curriculum, not subjective to a time frame that they need. When we delivered some of our first sets of training with a workforce in Northern Ireland, they're in doing their exams or doing their assessments online, and they're timed. We had to reset for one of the students, because life happens. New child in the house, he had to stop to feed the child. So when he came back to reset the exam, he was out of time. He was clocked out. That's life. We all live with that. 5 minutes reset it for him the next day, he was able to go in and do the test and pass. We've all been there where life gets in the way, and it shouldn't. It's training getting in the way. So we need to look at it, which is more important than the other, and balance that. By monetizing that, you're in charge of the direction, charge of the pace, and charge of the outcome. Using digital and the digital transformation, we create the connectivity. You join the dots that you require. Very prescriptive education in your first year in primary school or nursery school, you join the dots, 1 to 15 or 1 to 20. Who's to say your skills need to go to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? If you're never going to need the skills of 2 and 4, why do them? So you join the dots using digital to give you the connectivity you require for the platform you need and the skills you need. Using skills as well and the digital to overcome that dissonance. We have found in our trials and our testing, especially with some of the older members of the training workforce or those that haven't been the benefit of full education, there's a fear of the acronym BIM. 3 letters, and 90% of the workforce get turned off. They think it's not for them. And there's nothing to it. We're all involved in it. It's about using digital tools and giving the worker a toolbox of digital tools he or she requires to do their job. And that digital toolbox, the more you put in it, it doesn't get any heavier. It's still as easy carried as the first day, because they're giving them in a fashion that they need for their work. It's demonstrating how digital technology removes those barriers and gives you the multifaceted skills you require. As Anna Morena talks about TIBL, this came out of IBIMI in Italy, where Anna's in charge. Task and impact-based learning. You know the task you need to do, you get the skills through the digital platform, and then you can measure the impact, because you'll be able to upload the evidence, the digital photographs, and the digital evidence you require back to base. So the owner of the building or the owner of the platform has a digital footprint of how the building is built and will work, and in the handover, he's able to measure that TIBL. It allows us all to continue on that skills pathway, delivering that internal and external connectivity. The skills exchange within the workforce you're working in and in the partners across the whole value chain. You're able then to quantify the skills for the needs that you have. We're able then to develop the skills energy equation. Our partner in North Macedonia, Diana Lykar and James Herty in Copenhagen, they talk about the energy geometry of construction. And that's measuring the energy consumption of the building and making sure it is designed and built as designed. We're now developing that energy algorithm, which will allow us to prove that the greater the skill of the workforce in the task that they need, they're able to build greener construction. And it's continually closing that gap. As I got in the train this morning coming out of Connolly to go across to Lansdowne, we helped an older lady off the train because the gap was about 6 or 12 inches. Shouldn't happen in today's environment. How do we use digital to close those physical gaps, to close those energy gaps, and close the skills gaps? We then talk about building a digital platform of all of the modules, the micro-credentials and certificates we need in a connectivity, and have that in the cloud. And use all of the different tools that we have to allow all of the workers, blue collar, white collar, male, female, of any age, to have access to that through their employers, through the platforms, through the trade bodies. So then we create a level playing field of skills right across Europe. Because one of the first things we found, and Anna has found that in the research, the different level of skills education to training varies vastly from North Macedonia and from Turkey right across to Ireland and all points in between. So how do we create greener construction to reduce the CO2 footprint for all of Europe, for all of the globe? One of the biggest consumers of CO2 is the construction sector. We have a challenge to meet that, to reduce that energy footprint. And in conclusion, training is supported by digital. It's help driven by digital, but it's not all consuming. Digital is the new normal. There should be no skills dissonance. How do we use it to improve our lives and improve construction? Today's new technologies have to be packaged and delivered in such a way that we all take full benefit, full credibility and full options. I'm a great believer, if you go to any conference or anything, have at least 3 or 4 takeaways. The 4 takeaways from Arise about the monetized skills system. Focus on the system rather than just addressing the skills. So focus on the quality, not the quantity. Create a better system in harmony with the existing systems that are there. Address the challenges the industry faces and society faces. Skills are only an instrument of connectivity. Design, development and delivery of a universal interconnected curriculum will enable that cycle of participation for all ages. Clean energy transitions require innovative solutions. No longer the sticking plaster or the puncture repair kit. We've got to develop models that allow greater participation from a full, diverse talent pool. Arise and other projects are working to create a better skills system, address the challenges of the here and now, stimulate demand, build capacity to adapt and deliver the skills, and it's a journey, not a destination. And the journey has to be enjoyable. It's not about the teacher slapping you or beating you because you didn't do your homework. It's about you enjoying the journey and seeing the benefits, the realisation of those benefits as you deliver greener construction. You get the Arise website online with us. Our connections are there. Anna's presenting here today and myself. You'll get us on the badges in the platform. This presentation is to complement the article that we have in the digital catalogue they have about skills, the skills energy equation. It's incumbent on us all for a greener destination. Thank you very much indeed.